Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pageant Project. I have a very special guest with me, Ava Cooper, who is the newly crowned Miss South Carolina volunteer. And I'll just tell you a bit about her. She is 20 years old, a junior at Wofford College. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, where she is pursuing a degree in biology. I can see her nodding. A degree in biology with aspirations of becoming a medical laboratory scientist. At Wofford, she is a dedicated member of both the Division 1 track and field team and the dance team. Passionate about creativity and movement, she also enjoys upcycling, thrifting, photography, and all things sports. Ava is the founder of the S.E.R.V.E initiative Mind Over Medal, empowering athletes beyond the podium, through which she advocates for mental health in athletics via her podcast and mentorship program. Now serving as Miss South Carolina volunteer, Ava is excited to use her platform to uplift others and make a lasting impact across the state. Ava, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor. I asked you this just before we went live, but you're going to have to run us through. See, your your pageant when you were crowned was on my birthday. I know because Maddie, your predecessor, her dad asked me to come along if I was still in the States. And I said, I can't, I'll be back in Australia. That's actually my birthday. So how have things been over the last 10, it's roughly 2 weeks? How have your last 2 weeks been?
It's just been crazy. I'm still trying to comprehend what's happened, but it's starting to settle in, and I'm just ready to get the year started now.
I'm going to bring up the photo of, this is you. And for those of you watching at home or listening on the, but you can't see this. I just brought up Ava's crowning moment. That the expression on your face, can you just run the people through what you were thinking at this moment?
I it was pure shock. I was crying the entire time I was being crowned and walking on stage and waving and hugging everyone afterwards. I just remember thinking, like, is this actually me? Like, I actually won. It was just an insane feeling.
Just to clarify, you are actually happy in this photo, aren't you? Because from looking at it, you could
Yes,
go, oh, she looks terrified. But you are happy, right? You're just crying tears of joy.
yes, tears of joy.
Can you remember what was going through your head at this moment? Because a lot of people that I've spoken to, it's almost like they have a emotional blackout at that time because it's so overwhelming. Can you remember what happened at this moment?
I do remember right before I had won the fitness preliminary award, and I cried when I won that. So, and then I made top 3, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I did better." And then I was final 2, and I was just thinking, "There's no way it's gonna be my name." But then when they actually said Spartanburg volunteer, I just remember looking at everyone, just being like, "What? Where am I?" Just thanking the judges, and I remember Maddie. I watched the video, though. Maddie comes up to me, and she's, like, trying to get my attention, and I'm like, "Oh, hi," like, so funny.
Sounds like there was a lot of crying involved. Are you normally an emotional person, or did this occasion just get the better of you?
I am not normally an emotional person, especially when I'm on a stage in front of everyone. I usually am just very calm and chill and relaxed, so I was just completely I even cried the whole day after. I cried the whole day because I was just in pure shock and just so happy that I just couldn't believe what my life turned into.
Have you run out of tears now, and there are no more left? I was saying to Maddie that we probably need like a Kleenex sponsor for pageants. Have you run out of tears?
I seem to be fine now. No more tears since then.
Can you tell me? You said you're Spartanburg. I interview a lot of people, and I keep interviewing people in South Carolina for some reason, and then a lot of them seem to be located in Spartanburg. And the pageant itself, I believe, was held in Spartanburg, wasn't it? Can you tell me a bit? I've heard a bit about South Carolina, including the whole peach situation between like you guys and Georgia. But can you tell me a bit more about Spartanburg itself?
So I go to a school at Wofford College, which is located in Spartanburg, which is why I was Miss Spartanburg volunteer. It is a lot of people think that there's nothing to do in Spartanburg, and that always shocks me. You haven't been there recently, is what I say to these people, because I think it is the cutest place. We have the cutest downtown area. There's so many shops and so many things to do, and it's really a close knit community.
I was told by one of my friends there that she lives in Spartanburg, but she said she lived near a swamp or on a swamp. I don't exactly know what that means. Obviously, you know Spartanburg better than I do, but I've been invited to go down to South Carolina at some stage. So just to clarify, there are things to do there, right?
Yes, I've never seen a swamp, so I'm maybe she lives on the outskirts. I'm not
I
sure.
I have no idea. She said she had plenty of mosquitoes. Can you tell the people watching how you got into pageants to begin with? Because obviously you've got a lot going on, especially the athletic sides of things and the sports, which we'll get into. But how did you get into pageants to begin with?
So I joined my high school pageant my junior year, and it was just something out of my comfort zone. I just wanted to try something new. I've always been a competitive dancer, so I'm used to being on the stage, but pageants are a whole different story. And after I didn't place, but then I decided to try it again my senior year because it was so much fun, and I ended up winning. And just everything I got to do that year and the empowerment that I felt from pageants made me realize I want to continue with them. And then I decided to join Miss South Carolina Volunteer. And last year I got third runner up, and this year I won. So my pageant journey is very short, but very eventful at the same time.
Short but sweet at the moment. I should ask you because obviously you just won 2 weeks ago. What was the event like? I spoke to Maddie before Miss South Carolina Volunteer, and she ran us through a few of the things that you guys had planned. What was the event itself like?
It was super fun because everything about the volunteer organization is just family knit, very close. You get to be very close with all of the girls. And I really like how we have time to spend time with our princesses because I'm really close to my princesses. So I was able to spend time with them at rehearsal, even a little bit, and the pajama party, which is super fun. But just being at rehearsal with the girls is my favorite part because we all bonded very well.
For you guys, it sounds similar to nationals because when I was at nationals, the girls seemed to have a fair bit of time to actually socialize behind the scenes. It wasn't just like rehearsal, 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 and then you've been competing with these girls for a few days and you've never gotten to speak to them. So it sounds like, by the sounds of it, you guys had a bit of time at least to socialize as well and get to know one another.
Oh, yes, we had plenty of time, especially like we had tons of breaks, and at night too, we had time to just settle down with our family, which is really nice.
Right. Okay. That, yeah, because otherwise it almost seems like it's just a whirlwind of competing and then you never get to actually meet any of the girls. I have to ask, because when I went over to Miss Volunteer America, that was the first time I'd seen talent in a big pageant. And I didn't get to see Miss South Carolina Volunteer. So what did you do for your talent? I can guess if you're a competitive dancer, but why don't you tell us?
Yes, I danced. I got to do a solo to the song I Didn't Know My Own Strength by Whitney Houston. And it really aligns with why I started my platform, Mind Over Metal. I even started the dance in a runner's position as if I was about to take off sprinting, which was just a nice ode to everything that I've been doing with my platform. And it's my favorite solo I've ever done. So it was super special.
I don't know anything about dance. So what style was it? Was it classical? Was it modern? How would you describe it?
I think it would be lyrical contemporary, somewhere in between there, probably more lyrical, so slow but upbeat at the same time.
Sounds good. What was that your favorite part of the competition? I mean, talent I think is amazing. You guys get to have your moment on stage, but what was your favorite part of the competition apart from getting to know the other girls?
I would say fitness is my favorite part of competition. I have been really preparing for it this year, and I actually won, which I mentioned earlier. It was just an amazing feeling to know my hard work paid off, but it's the scariest part. but it actually ends up being the most fun part. And I think that's why it's my favorite, because after it's over, you're like, that actually was a lot more fun than it was scary.
That was the one you mentioned after you were called the winner, you started crying?
Yes.
Okay. It's hard to remember because you seem to be crying so much. You've mentioned a couple of times your athletic background, and so you mentioned running. Let's get into that. I am not a runner. I am a tennis player. I also a tennis coach. So I will run, but it's only when chasing after a ball. What sort of running? Like, are we talking sprinting, long distance, medium distance? What are we doing here?
Well, I actually am a jumper. So I do high jump, long jump, and triple jump. So I'm actually not very fast. I'm working on it though. That is my main goal with my college coach, has been to get faster, because the faster you are, the farther you'll jump. And it has been working, but I'm still working on that.
High jump, long jump, and triple jump. Okay, are you tall? Are you super tall?
I'm 5'9".
Right. Okay. So that because it seems to me that most of the jumpers are quite tall, especially the high jumpers. Can I ask what's the best height that you've cleared over the high jump bar at the moment?
My best height is 5 feet 3.5 inches over the high
Right.
jump bar. It's actually
Okay.
funny. Actually, usually one of the shortest high jumpers there. They're usually all 6 feet tall, and I'm just looking at everyone like,
I've seen some of the jumpers at Olympics and things like that, and I'm just a shade over 6 foot tall. And then you see some of these people who could jump over me basically, and I don't understand it. When I was learning how to high jump, I had a friend who couldn't. Is it called the Flosbury flop? What is that
yes,
move? Is that what it's called?
yes.
Right. Good luck describing that to people who don't know what it is. But my friend couldn't quite get the handle of it, and he went over Superman style, and went right face first into the bar. He wasn't very athletically gifted. What was it that got you into jumping in the first place?
Well, I did Girls on the Run when I was in elementary school, so that's long distance 5Ks. And that was fun, but not quite my style. And then when I got to middle school, I decided I want to try sprinting. So at the tryouts, I tried hurdles. And I
Okay.
was just flying over the hurdles like this, not really running over them. And ever since then, I've been a jumper.
You were giving the hurdles a bit too much air, were you?
Yes, yes.
Right. So it sounds like what was it about the long distance running that didn't really appeal to you? I mean, I can give you my opinion on it, but what was it that made you realize this ain't for me?
Well, with jumping, you just run, jump, very short, quick, and it's over. Long distance running, it's so long, repetitive breathing, and just all. I feel like it's a lot harder than jumping. I always feel bad when I'm at practice, because the long distance people are just making laps and laps, and we're just sitting on the mat talking to each other. And they always get mad at us because they're like, "You don't really practice, do you?" We're like, "We chose this event, so it's not our fault."
Hey, you guys chose your to be jumpers, but the long distance runners, they also chose their event. You can't really complain about it when you're the one that chose it.
Yes.
I'm not good with long distance running. I just get really bored. I'm very competitive, but running it doesn't feel competitive to me. It almost seems like it's just like a penance or some sort of test to see how long I can last
Yeah.
before my lungs give out. Sprinting is fine. So you said the high jump, long jump, and the triple jump. These are, I mean, I know they're all jumps, but they're all technically different, right? So to explain to people who maybe aren't as gifted athletically as you are, I'm sure you put a lot of work into it as well. But explain to people how different the technique is for the three separate events and how much like different training do you need to do? Because I don't want people to think, oh, she just jumps and they're all the same, because they're not, right?
No, they're not the same at all. I recently just dove into triple jump, and it's been really hard because I would say that is the most technical one. I I don't high jump is really technical too, but I've been doing that one since 7th grade. So triple jump, it's called a hop, a skip, and a jump. So you're running on a runway into a pit of sand. It's like long jump in that way, but you have to jump off one foot, land on the same foot, jump onto the other foot, and then jump into the sand. Whereas long jump, you just jump off one foot into the sand, which I think is the easiest event because you really only need to be fast at that to be good at that one. High jump, you run in a curve and then jump up and then backwards over a bar. And I'm actually afraid of going backwards and afraid of heights. So that one is just completely against me, but it's my main event. So I don't know how that works.
You're afraid of going backwards?
Yes, I've always wanted to do a backflip on the trampoline. I never could do it. But I basically do a backflip over a bar, so I don't know what the difference is in my mind. I couldn't tell you.
Doing a backflip, that makes a lot of sense because I'd be afraid of landing on my head. But like, can you sit going backwards on a train or something like that? Or does that freak you out as well?
No, that's fine. That's fine. I think
Oh,
it's
okay.
the flip.
The thing that I find difficult to understand about the triple jump and the long jump is you need to be so precise as to where your foot lands before takeoff. Because obviously, if you go too far, I don't know the technical term. Is it a foul or foul jump? Is that the tech? Right. How, when you're sprinting full pace, how do you? I'm sure it's easy for you. It comes to you naturally. But to me, it's like, how do I sprint full pace and yet make sure my foot lands in exactly the right spot? Because I'd just be like, it's enough for me to just think about how I'm going to jump, how fast I have to run, and then not landing face first in the sand. How do you pace it out so that you know your foot's not going to go over the mark?
It is actually very difficult because this year, as I said, I've been getting faster, and you measure out your spot, but as you get faster, your spot is going to change every single time. So
Yeah.
every single practice, I was going from a different spot. So what I do is I look down and I push out for 4 strides, and then I stand up and I go like kind of like a cycle, and then at the end you go do 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 do, and you go up, but the problem is you're not supposed to look down at the board, so it
Yeah.
really is just you have to get it exactly right on the spot. It takes a lot of practice to be able to just run and not look and it go off the spot without scratching, because if you just go over by a little toe, it doesn't count.
It sounded, I have no idea what you just described. It sounds very involved. And here's the thing, you said you're not allowed to look down at the board, which to me is just like, I don't know how you do that. But there was this study done on a sports team, and they had one team that wasn't allowed to practice. There was one team that got to practice. I think it was basketball. Three teams. One team wasn't allowed to practice. One team was allowed to practice. And then the middle team, the third team, was allowed to practice, but only through visualizing. And what they found was that the team that didn't practice didn't get better. That's not a surprise. The team that practiced got better, but the team who visualized almost improved as much as a team that got to practice. So my question for you is, how clearly in your mind, if I ask you to visualize a triple jump, the best triple jump of your life, how clearly in your mind can you do that right now?
I very clearly. That is mainly what I do. We always say that we do mental reps. That is our
Yeah.
little practice. We're like, did you practice over break? We did mental reps. Just visualizing what you're doing over and over and over again. And then by the time you actually do it, it really does work to where you just do it. And I really find it's helpful to watch YouTube videos and watch professionals do it and just imagine myself doing the exact same motions. And it really does work. So I like that study. I've never heard of that before, but I do it every day.
I taught myself tennis, and you can imagine it's probably not the easiest thing to self-teach because I didn't even have someone on the other side of the net. I had a machine that literally threw balls. But I watched YouTube videos of the best players in the world, and I tried to not necessarily copy, but model what they did. But I found that the most important thing was I had to understand how it felt to be them. I had to put myself in their body. So when they were pushing off, I needed to go, okay, hang on, what are they pushing off with? Because it's not their arm, it's actually from their hips, from their legs. So when you're watching these YouTube videos, do you feel almost like, this would be a bit strange, but do you almost feel like your legs are moving and you are moving with them to sort of get the feel for what it must be like to be them?
Yes, definitely. My coach has meetings with me where he pulls up videos and he pulls up a side by side of my video and he says, "Look, you don't look like them." And I have to sit there and imagine in my head what exactly they are doing to replicate that.
But it's got to be incredibly difficult because at your age, obviously, you said you're getting faster and faster, which you want. But at the same time, it sounds like it's also screwing you up because it changes your rhythm. Like to me, it'd be like, I need every time to be exactly the same. Obviously, I want to jump further and further. But if it's a technique thing, that's okay. But if I've gotten faster and now I need to go further back, that kind of like it would screw up my rhythm. Is that part of the struggle or is that the easy is that easy?
No, it's definitely part of the struggle. For sure. And I did not understand it until I started to see that I actually was getting PRs, personal records, but I was just mad at my coach, like, "I don't understand. Why do I have to be fast? Like, it's messing everything up."
You wanted to stay slow?
Yes. Oh, I didn't understand it until I saw the results and it actually worked.
It's funny the idea of a runner who's getting or a jumper who's getting mad at because she's getting faster. Walk us through what's the progression been like? You said you started with long distance running and you've sort of left that in the past, which I think is a good decision. And then you've been jumping. Like, can you walk us through what the progression on your PRs has been like?
Yes. So that is one of the reasons why I started my S.E.R.V.E initiative was because I went such a long time in my life where I was not getting better. And so once you make a sport your entire identity, which you shouldn't do, but I did, you start to hate the sport and then further hate yourself because you're not doing better. I felt literally worthless because I wasn't reaching a certain mark that I had been before in the past. So then that just made me do worse and worse each meet. And it was just a really big mental toll, and finally, I was just said to myself, "I'm done thinking like that, I'm just gonna have fun." And when I did that, I went and I PR'd in triple jump by almost a meter. I PR'd in long jump by almost a foot, and I got my season's best in high jump, all in the same meet.
I know a lot of people, and this will be the same with pageants. A lot of people in pageants are super competitive, and you said that you're super competitive yourself. And then when you say something like, I decided to just have fun, they begin to panic because, and I've been there, I've been with tennis players and I'm very competitive myself. It's almost like if you tell me to just have fun, you're telling me not to take it seriously. And I take it seriously because I want to get better and I want to win. So how much of a struggle for you was it to go from being hyper competitive to just having fun where you still want to win, but obviously it's a very different like mindset going into it to have fun. Like, were you able to do that overnight? Was it over a period of months or years? Because that's not an easy switch to flip.
I think it was just been going on so long where I was placing my value based off how I was placing and like placing overall within the event. And I just, one day, my friend Pam texted me, my best friend on my team, and she said, "I know you're really struggling right now, but just think about how middle school you would be so proud of where you are right now, and they wouldn't know the difference or care what your PR is." And that just flipped a switch in my head, and I realized I just gotta go have fun. And so that's what me and Pam always say. Our coaches always say 10% fun, 90% serious, and we say it's the opposite.
Can you walk us through what a typical practice for you looks like then?
Yes, so we warm up. My coach actually created a jumpers warm up this year, which is super nice because it actually incorporates our movements that we're doing and not just the normal sprinter warm up. It's dynamically different. And then we'll do a few short sprints to get our bodies warmed up even more, and then we'll just choose the event that we want to do that day. We'll usually do short approaches, which is like half of the approach, the normal approach that we would do towards either the long jump pit or the high jump mat. And when I compete, that is the only time I do my long approach, which is also nerve-wracking too. Part of the mental aspect of that. But it's taken a lot for me to actually say, you know what? My coach actually knows what he's doing. Let me just have fun and trust him.
If I was to ask your coach Ava to describe you, how would he describe you?
My coach always calls me pageant queen. And my head coach, but my assistant coach would say that I laugh a lot and that I need to stop overthinking. That's definitely what those are the two things he would say about me.
Okay. Would he have said that you laugh a lot before you had your mindset shift though? Like when you were taking things super seriously and you said you were miserable, were you laughing in practice then, or was that only after you decided to have fun?
So so freshman year I was very bubbly, and then this past year I was not. There would be so many moments where I'm at practice, I would just break down in tears. And I know what we're saying, it sounds like I cry a lot, guys, but I really do not cry a lot. But that my coach was just so concerned for me because that's just not who I am. That's not how I roll. So he just one day told me, just do what you need to do and just reset everything. Stop caring. Just go do it. And that's when I started getting better and having fun again.
So your serve initiative, mind over medal. I've worked with a lot of athletes, and even pageant girls can be hyper competitive, and there's a lot of crying in pageants as well, as we've discussed. In terms of your serve initiative, what are your goals? What are you aiming to do? Are we going into schools? Are we talking to students? Are we talking to student athletes? Like, what are your goals with the initiative?
Yes, I want to create a mentorship program where collegiate athletes can come to high schools and middle schools and serve as a mentor for the younger athletes at the schools. I would have loved that in high school, to have someone to look up to and to know that my struggles are the exact same that other people are facing in my sport, and have someone just to talk to about it. And I also created a podcast where I talk with collegiate and professional athletes, and they share their stories of resilience in order to, like I said, inspire others to know that they're not alone in this situation. Just because I feel that mental health in athletics is not talked about enough. And sometimes you can hear it here and there, but you really don't understand the full grasp of it until you're in the situation. And then you realize, I feel like I can't talk about this with anyone. Like, no one else is going through this, but almost every single athlete has gone through it at some point. So that's what I'm trying to do, is spread awareness on it.
Do you think mental health, because I think mental health in every industry or every sport is slightly different. Obviously, there's a lot in common as well. But again, I'll just speak to tennis because that's what I know. There was actually a documentary on Netflix called Breaking Point, where it was following an American player not that long ago. His name is Marty Fish. And he started having severe panic attacks, severe depression right before he played at the US Open against Roger Federer. It was supposed to be the biggest match of his life. And he just couldn't go on. The mental pressure just became way too much. And tennis is a very lonely sport. You're one-on-one for the most part. Back then, you weren't allowed to be coached on court. It was technically illegal. If the umpire saw your coach instructing you, you could be penalized. It's a bit different now. But I've always thought, oh, team sports, it must be different because you got your teammates. And I don't know because I never competed in team sports. But with athletics, when you're right at the top, when you're about to jump, you're by yourself. When you're jumping, obviously, you're completely by yourself and you can be your best friend or your own worst enemy. Is that part of the struggle with athletics in terms of what you compete in? Is that sometimes it's very isolating and you can feel very alone?
Especially when it's something like track and field, where it is a team sport, but it is very individual, and you're in the meet and in the mindset, and you're looking at everyone else and how everyone else is doing. You go one at a time in front of everyone watching you that you're competing against, and you can very easily fall to comparison of how others are doing, and just you can make yourself lose before it's even started just by watching how others warm up.
Was there, we have the same in pageantry, but with pageantry, we say, different day, different judge, different panel, different winner, which, yes, it's absolutely true. It is subjective, but it's almost more difficult with sports and athletics because you're watching someone compete and it wasn't a judge's call. It was, no, she jumped further than I did. She ran faster than I did. She jumped higher than I did. How do you resist that temptation to compare yourself? Because you can very easily see a number and the number says, no, she's better than me, at least on that day. How can you still drive yourself to be better, yet not continually beat yourself up?
So I interviewed Team USA high jumper Dontavious Hill, and he told me something that I'm always going to remember. He said, "You're competing for an audience of one, which is God." So that is something that I've really taken with me into my sport. And I've just always said, my dad has always said this too, it's just me and the bar in high jump. That's the only thing I'm worrying about. Don't look at anyone else. Doesn't matter how they're doing because they've got to go over that same bar. So that's my number one enemy, is that bar in high jump.
It like when you get to interview other successful athletes? I mean, people who've been on Team USA. I mean, if I got to interview like a professional tennis player, I would be pretty mind blown. I'd probably also want to have a tennis match with them and get completely destroyed. But what's it like when you get to speak to someone like that?
Well, when I got to speak to Dontavious Hill, that was just absolutely incredible because he is my idol in track and field. I got his autograph for my 18th birthday. It's hanging up on my wall over there. So when he actually responded to me and said that he would be on my podcast, I was just so elated. And the whole time, I just felt like I was so nervous talking. I just kept giggling the whole time every time I was asking a question. I was just like a little girl giggling when he was answering. But I also saw, even I know that I'm advocating for people to show that athletes all go through similar challenges, but when he actually was saying the exact same things that I've gone through, it was hitting even more than, like, this professional athlete has faced the exact same things in my event because we both do high jump, which really helps me a lot to see myself. I know I am not alone in this.
What's it like when someone has the same mental health challenges as yourself in that exact same event? Because I got to imagine that when the two of you talk, you know all the ins and outs of every single little bit of technique in a way that normal people go like, what are they talking about? Just jumping over a bar. But it's got to be different, I imagine. Like, you guys can connect because you've done so much. You spent so much of your life doing the same thing, which is like jumping backwards over a bar. That must have been pretty cool.
Yes, it is, because a lot of times when, like you said, I try to talk about high jump, people just don't really get it because it is a science.
Yeah.
You have to get every single little detail right. And that is very mentally challenging in itself. So, yes, when I got to speak to him and hear that he still goes through those same challenges, it was just very eye opening.
What you're advocating for, I think you mentioned it with your S.E.R.V.E initiative. You want to get mentors in. If we go back to when you were struggling, would that really have helped with what you were going through if you could have someone who is a couple of years older, someone who maybe has been on a Team USA? I mean, that would be amazing if you could get someone like that. But if you could just have a chat with them, do you think that would have helped when you were struggling?
Yeah, 100% it would have helped, because I was really going to my parents and my friends and people who were on my team, and they just kept telling me, "It's okay, like, you'll get it, you'll get it," and I just wasn't getting it. And I just kept getting more down and down, so I feel like if I would have been able to know that I could talk to someone who has been in my shoes, I feel like that really would have helped me to see, okay, it's not just words, because you can hear words and you say, yeah, yeah, you don't get it. But if you could talk to someone who really does get it, I know that definitely would have helped me in that moment.
It's important that it's someone who really understands what it's like to literally be in your shoes, because it's coming from someone who's been there, done that, versus someone who is well meaning but doesn't really know what it's like. So it's important that it comes from, right. Okay. I think that makes a lot of sense. What do you think, if we back up, what do you think caused the issues in the first place? I think at the very beginning, you mentioned that you had tied your identity, and that's one of the giant red flags, is if you attach your identity to, or your validation to, your success. Do you think that was maybe what started that was the root cause of the problems?
Oh, 100% that was the root cause of the problem. Just, you have to know that you are more than your placement on a podium. That is not where your value comes from. Your value comes from you as a human being and just being the wonderful person that you are. But sometimes you can't see that because you went to one meet and you didn't do good. So now all of a sudden you suck. That's how that was working in my head. But it's just, yeah, that is definitely the root problem of it for sure. And that's why I'm trying to tell people, and that's why it's mind over metal, empowering athletes beyond the podium. That's what I'm really trying to do.
Where would you like Ava to see? I mean, we've got about 10 months until nationals next year. Where would you like to see your S.E.R.V.E initiative get to eventually? What's the big goal?
Well, I would love to have my mentorship program be spread across the state and maybe even into multiple states. And I would love to interview more and more athletes, especially professional athletes, with a wide platform and a wide audience of younger athletes who are listening and following them daily.
Is there anyone that, in terms of your pageant journey or your athletic journey, that you want to say thank you to, or give a shout out to for supporting you?
Yes, my parents are the root cause of who I am and everything that I get to do. I do so many things in my life and they support me in everything that I do. My dad he really is a very emotional person. And after my pageant ended, he just came up to me and was like, "You can do anything. I have no words. You can do anything." So yes, they're my biggest supporters and they mean the world to me. But my pageant interview coach as well, Randy Wild, she is the reason where I've gotten my confidence and my ability to speak to others. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, there's no way I could have done this interview with you at all. But she has made me realize and open up so much and be able to form my thoughts into words and have meaningful conversations. So I really thank her for every success that I've been able to get in the interview room and pageants as well.
Or before we go towards the end, what does a typical day for you look like? Because you just mentioned your dad, he supports you, and you do so many things. So your jumper, you're an athlete. I'm imagining like really early mornings. I don't know. What's a typical day for you look like?
Yes, so in the preseason, before we actually start competing at meets, we have 6 a.m. practices, which are pretty rough. We actually even drive on the side of the road and run into the woods and start running up this random hill. And freshman year, that run into the woods, you're like, where are they taking me? That's how my morning starts in the fall. That I go to class. I'm usually done with class by lunchtime, which is super nice. And then I actually have a lot of hours in my day where I usually take a nap, but I have a feeling with this new title, I'm going to be quite busy. No time for naps. And then it's just get my homework done. It's a very chill day. I like to sew as well and do upcycling. So if I have time to get out my sewing machine and make something, I like to do that too, just to once again be more than an athlete, do something hands on and creative. That's my typical day.
and making you run up a random hill. That sounds like the beginning of a really bad story. And when you're napping, I hope you're not napping randomly in the woods, because that also sounds like that could end badly. Well, you just like left it in the wilderness and then you got to run up a hill. It almost sounds like army training.
It is that first time as a freshman when you follow the team into the woods. It is quite scary, and it's pitch dark because it's 6 a.m. That is quite scary, I will say, but it's very nice too when we're doing our hill sprints when the sun is rising. You're like, "There's my hope." There's that pretty sunrise.
Like the beginning of like a hazing ritual, initiation ritual, or the beginning of a good practical joke. Your coach just drives you out into the woods, leaves you there, and says, "Okay, good luck, run home." Are we going to be seeing you in the Olympics or anything like that, or the World Championships anytime soon? Is that what the ultimate goal is?
I don't think that is where my athletic journey will take me, but my best friend Sharika, who I got to interview on my podcast, she is already on Team Jamaica. Um, and she is quite amazing, quite outstanding in track and field. So keep her name, Shrika Christie, in your mind from Jamaica. She will be definitely representing Jamaica in the Olympics one day.
That's pretty amazing. When that, I don't think I've ever had. I don't know. I know one person who's competed in the Olympics. She was in weightlifting. That was already pretty awesome. So, if you have a friend who's competing in the Olympics, that's going to be pretty cool as well. What events does she compete in? Same as you?
She does almost every single event there is possible to do because she's quite amazing. But her main event would be long jump and the heptathlon, which is 7
7?
events.
I think it's
Yes.
7. I, I hope you know. I know. I think heptathlons. I'll put you on the spot here. Can you name the 7 or decathlon? Can you name the 10? I don't think I could.
I can name the 7 in heptathlon. Decathlon is boys, so I don't pay
Okay.
attention to them too. But
Okay.
heptathlon, long jump, high jump, 200-meter race, 800-meter race, shot put, um, goodness, hurdles, and there's one more I'm missing. Gosh, no, I know this.
It's going to bug you, isn't
Um,
it?
okay, javelin.
I was
Got
going to guess javelin, but I don't know. Okay, you got there. You got there. Javelin
it
and shot.
in there.
How do you train for? I mean, it's enough to train for one sport. How do you train for 7?
I don't know because she even does high jump. I mean, she does the open high jump and open discus, which isn't in the heptathlon. At conference meets, she does like 13 events, and I, she's a machine basically. I don't know. She's just an amazing role model and my best friend all in one.
Discus is one that I was never able to wrap my head around. I don't know how you can spin around like that and then end up throwing the discus in the right direction. I'd end up throwing it backwards or straight at someone's head or something like that. I look at it going like that. Like, I don't know how you don't just fall over at the end, but I'm sure she knows what she's doing. Just out of interest, do you play any other sports like recreationally? Because I'm curious, because obviously you're going to be super fit because you're an athlete. Have you tried any like racket sports or batting sports or basketball or anything like that?
Well, growing up, I did almost every sport there was. I did volleyball, basketball, softball, track, dance, swim. I think that's the main 6 I did. But yeah, I've always been a very athletic person, a very busy person. In high school, I was usually doing 3 sports at once, plus school all day long. I don't know how I did it. I always say that college is a lot easier for me than high school was. I have a lot more free time in college, which a lot of people don't believe, but it's definitely true.
Did you get into sports originally, or did your parents put you into sports originally just because you had too much energy to burn? Is that what happened?
Well, um I did dance since I was 3 years old, and my brother played baseball. So then one day I said I wanted to play baseball, so I played t-ball. I was the only girl on the team. And then when I got to 5th grade, I was like, I'm tired of being the only girl on the team. What are some girl sports that people do? And I learned what volleyball was, and I was like, put me on that. I want to be with girls. So then I fell in love with volleyball. I did that all the way up till my senior year in high school. And I did basketball. I wasn't very good at that one. Yes, I've just always been a very adventurous person. I always want to try new things, which is why I'm doing pageantry as well. I'm just constantly thinking of new things to try.
What I want to run an idea past you, and it's probably a terrible idea, but what about for talent? I was talking to someone about talent, and we got to the subject of maybe you could have sword fights as a talent or a martial arts demonstration. What are the chances of us getting you to jump over a high jump bar on the stage at the Carl Perkins Civic Centre July next year? What do you think?
Very, very low.
Not the bar, I hope. The bar will be very high. We could set the bar high, we could set it on fire, and then you could jump over it. What do you think?
Absolutely not.
That's a shame. I think that'd be so cool. It'd be like watching one of those daredevil circuses, watching you jump over a flaming bar. I think that'd be super cool. Ava, well, let's go towards the final 10. These are our random questions to wrap up. So, number 1, what is your favorite word?
I would say my favorite word is y'all. I always claim I'm not a Southern person, and then I will catch myself in a formal setting and say, hey, y'all, and hit myself in the head.
I've been so tempted because I've spent so much time talking to you Southerners that I'm tempted to start using y'all, but I can't use it without sounding like an imposter. It just doesn't come out of my mouth. You said you catch yourself saying it. So if you didn't want to say it, what word would you use when you're saying, hey, y'all? What would you say instead?
I guess I would just say, hey, guys, but that sounds less welcoming.
Hey, y'all. I do like that word. I just can't use it. It doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth. All right, number 2, what is your least favorite word?
That's a hard question. I feel like everyone says this, but moist. I feel like everyone says that, but it's just a weird word. I don't like it.
That is quite a common answer. And the funniest part is that you all have the exact same facial expression when you say the word moist. I will ask you this, not to disagree with you, but how would you describe a delicious chocolate cake then when they say it's moist? If you don't like that word, what would you're not going to say wet or damp. What would you use to describe a delicious chocolate cake?
Honestly, I have no idea. I think I would probably just end up saying moist.
There you go.
But then I wouldn't want to eat the cake. I'd just be like, this is good. That's it.
I think it's the word moist is only allowable in the context of a delicious cake. That's what I'm going to say. Number 3, in life, what gets you excited? What turns you on?
I would say trying new things. I know I already said that, but I love to create things too. So being able to create something or do something new, that is what gets me excited for sure.
Just a quick question. What's the most random new thing you've ever tried?
Honestly, this is so funny, but I would say pageantry.
That one worked out pretty well for you. You just randomly on a whim decided to do a pageant. It's ended up pretty good for you.
Yes, it has. I'm so excited, but do you see now why I was making that face when I won?
Why? Because that face means, oh, what have I gotten myself into? What have I done?
Just pure shock, as in, I actually succeeded at this? What in the world?
Have you ever pulled that face after you cleared a bar or did a PR? I imagine you don't pull that face when you jump the bar, do you?
No, usually when I get a PR, I'll go, yay, and do that. And everyone just thinks it's funny. All my teammates laugh.
So there's no crying after you set a PR over the bar. That's okay. All right.
No.
It's good to know. So that was what turns you on. What about number 4? What turns you off?
Being bored. I don't like being bored. I always have to be doing something.
That I'm going to say that makes a certain amount of sense given what you've just described, that you don't like being bored. That's probably also why you don't like long distance running. If you're anything like me, I just find it so boring. I can't do it. Number five, what sound or noise do you love?
Oh, I know. Would have like Poppet toys with the little things that you press? I love doing that and hearing the.
You're not an ASMR person as well, are you?
No, I actually do not like ASMR.
Good, good. Yeah, the ASMR for me is like the word moist for you. I the slime and the squelching, I don't understand it. Number six, what sound or noise do you hate?
Snoring. Snoring because I can always hear my dad down the hallway snoring at night. When I was little, I thought there was a bear and I got really scared.
How long did you think that was a bear before you discovered it was your dad making that noise?
Well, I crept into the room and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to save them. My parents. And then, nope. Oh, so funny. I was probably like 5 years old or something.
Have you ever told your dad this story?
Yes, yes. I told them when they woke up.
Do you remember how that conversation went? He said, "Morning, Dad. I thought you were a bear. Why were you making that sound? What's wrong with you?"
He was probably like, oh, shut up.
Look, as long as you're not snoring, it's probably less appropriate for a pageant queen. So I was going to say, if you hate snoring, you must have heard it somewhere. Okay, number seven. If you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
Teleportation. Because, like I said, I don't like being bored. I don't like sitting in cars for a long time. I would rather just get there and start my day.
Thought you were going to say because I could just teleport over the bar, or I could teleport, 30 feet in my long, and people are like, "Oh wow, she sets a PR every time." It's like, bing. I was going to say you can't pick Superman because then you could just fly over the bar. But okay, teleportation. We'll go with that. Number eight. What job would you most like to attempt?
Like a job that I would like to do, I would love to be a model. That would be so much fun. That was my dream job since I was a little girl.
I think you're on the right track with pageants. That can certainly lead there if you want to walk in a fashion week or something like that. Number nine, what job would you definitely not like to attempt?
A surgeon. There's no way I could do that. No way. I tried to watch Grey's Anatomy and I couldn't get past episode 1 because they cut into someone's, like, I don't even remember, I had to turn it off. So, no, I could never even watch a surgery.
Do we have problems with blood?
No, it's not that, because I could look at blood, but I can't watch, like, the actual skin being cut. That is, oh.
Right, because I have interviewed pageant girls who faint at the sight of blood. One girl who was shaving in the shower cut her leg and passed out in the shower at the sight of her own blood. So I thought we were having one of those things.
That is crazy.
Yeah, she's actually a really well-known pageant girl as well, and she told me that story. I was like, really? You pass out in the shower? That's a hard one to explain. Anyway, final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Um, Welcome home, good and faithful servant. Because I've always say I have a servant's heart, and I love to serve others, so that would definitely warm my soul.
Final question, because I lied. How are you feeling about nationals in July next year? Excited? Nervous? What? A mix?
I'm so excited. I can't believe it because I've watched it on my TV screen the past 2 years. And this summer, I told everyone we had a watch party every night with my dance teachers. And I told them, I was like, I'm going to be up there next year. You better watch out. And now I'm like, I actually am. I was just joking. But I can't believe I'm so excited.
It's a massive stage. It's a lot of fun. If you like dancing, you like having your moment, I think you're going to have an amazing time. They treat you guys like VIPs. The only tip I'll give you, bring something warm, because that theater, I've spoken to everyone, including Maddie, it's like a freezer in there. So just make sure you bring something warm to rug up so you don't catch a cold.
I will, because I hate being cold. So that's not great.
Me too. Me too. I don't know anyone who likes being cold. I give me 365 days of summer, I'll be fine. Well, Ava, thank you so much for coming on and enduring our technical difficulties. We've had a few, but it's been a pleasure getting to chat to you, and best luck with the rest of your journey.
Thank you so much for having me.
Been an absolute pleasure. I'll keep you on the line for just a sec whilst I hang up with the audience. But thanks everyone for watching, and we will speak to you next time. Bye for now.